Okay, so have you ever felt like drowning in all the leadership advice out there?
Oh, yeah.
Articles everywhere you turn,
Right.
each one saying, here's the leadership style you need.
Yeah.
It's honestly overwhelming. You practically need a decoder ring just to figure out which style is which.
It really can feel that way, right?
Yeah.
That's why we're diving into productivity by design in this deep dive.
Exactly. I'm so glad we're doing this because seriously,
Yeah.
it's like, how am I supposed to sift through all of this and find an approach that actually, works for me?
And that's the key, isn't it? It's not about forcing yourself into some kind of leadership box. It's
Yeah.
about figuring out what works for you. And productivity by design really helps with that. It cuts through all the noise and gets down to those core leadership principles.
Yes. Love that. And I have to say, when I got to the part where they broke it down into 6 main leadership styles,
Mm-hmm.
it was like this huge sigh of relief. Like, okay, maybe this isn't so overwhelming after all.
It's a good starting point because every leadership style really boils down to how you approach three things: vision,
Hmm?
execution, and people skills. So these 6 core styles: transformational, authoritative, transactional, delegative, participative, and servant,
Okay.
they each offer a different recipe, a different way to blend those 3 elements.
I like that, a recipe. So instead of just running through a list of names,
Right.
can we, like, I don't know, bring these styles to life a bit? What's the secret sauce of each one?
Okay, I like that. Let's do it. Let's start with, say, transformational leaders.
Okay.
These are those big picture thinkers.
Yeah.
The ones who can rally a team around a shared vision and really get everyone inspired and motivated.
Okay, I'm getting it.
Like, think back to Steve Jobs unveiling the very first iPhone.
Oh, yeah.
Pure transformational energy right there.
Right. Total rock star moment. Okay, so it's all about painting that picture of the future and getting everyone on board.
Exactly.
What about authoritative leadership? That sounds a little more, I don't know, intense maybe?
A little bit, yeah. If transformational leaders are the architects, then authoritative leaders are more like the site managers.
Okay.
They bring structure and clarity, setting those crystal clear expectations, providing direct feedback, making sure everybody's clear on their role and how to achieve the goal.
Got it. So less about inspiring and more about directing. Like, I imagine this style is super valuable in a crisis or when you need to make those quick decisions.
Absolutely. Now, transactional leadership, that's all about setting those clear goals and then rewarding performance,
Okay.
almost like a point system.
Yeah.
You hit your targets, you reap the rewards. It works really well in environments where it's easy to track performance, like in sales, for instance.
Makes sense, though. I can also see how that might not be the best fit for every team or project. I mean,
Yeah.
some people need more than just external rewards to feel motivated, don't they?
100%. And that's where those other leadership styles come in.
Okay.
So let's talk about delegative leadership. This style is all about trust.
Yeah.
It's the trust fall of leadership, if you will.
Hmm.
You delegate tasks to your team, provide support when needed, but then you give them the autonomy to make decisions.
See, that sounds amazing on paper. Like, what an incredible way to empower your team.
Yeah.
But I imagine it takes a ton of trust from the leader, too.
Mm,
When does this style really shine and when might it, backfire? It's a real balancing act, isn't it? You've got to trust your team, but also make sure they're set up for success.
exactly. You can't just delegate and disappear.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's switch gears to participative leadership.
Okay.
If delegative is about empowering, participative is more about collaboration.
Okay.
This leader really values input from everyone. They encourage open communication and involve the team in those decision-making processes.
Oh, I like that. Very inclusive. It's like the whole two heads are better than one idea. But
Precisely. It's about leveraging that collective wisdom.
I bet that's super effective for brainstorming, problem solving.
Totally. It can really spark those creative solutions. And, when people feel heard and involved,
Yeah.
they're more likely to be on board with those decisions too.
Makes sense. Now, servant leadership, this one always kind of throws me off a bit
I get that.
because it seems almost counterintuitive. Like, shouldn't a leader lead?
Right. But it's not about being nice or a pushover or anything. It's more about being of service to your team.
Okay, so less about giving orders and more about
Yeah.
what? Mentoring, guiding.
Exactly. Think of a coach who's totally dedicated to helping their team reach their full potential.
I like that. They're not afraid to get in there and support their team, remove obstacles. They're invested in their team's growth.
Exactly. They lead by example, empower their team, and prioritize their team's needs.
Okay, I'm starting to get a better feel for it. It's about shifting that focus from like me as the leader to we as a team.
You got it. Now, productivity by design actually goes deeper and outlines 20 different leadership styles in total.
See, now that's where I start to feel overwhelmed again. Like, how am I supposed to keep track of all those?
Yeah, I hear you. 20 styles can definitely sound a bit intimidating.
Right.
But the good news is you don't have to memorize them all.
Okay, good, because that was my next question.
The article really stresses that these extra styles are often just variations or combinations of those core sticks we talked about.
Ah, okay, so it's like building blocks. You've got those core six, and then you can kind of mix and match, add your own flair.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I think that's what makes it so exciting. It's not one size fits all. You can tailor it.
So instead of mastering 20 separate styles, it's more about expanding that leadership vocabulary, being able to adapt.
Exactly. And understanding the nuances of how those styles can work together.
Right. Because in real life, it's probably pretty rare to find someone who embodies just one pure leadership style, right? I mean, we're all a mix of different things.
You're absolutely right. And this is where that idea of adaptability comes in, which productivity by design highlights.
Because you can't just pick a style and be like, this is it forever and always, right?
You know,
The real world throws curveballs. You've got to be ready to adjust.
exactly. Real world leadership is about being flexible, reading the room, knowing when to adjust your approach based on the situation, what your team needs.
So it's like having a whole leadership toolkit.
Love that analogy. You need the right tool for the job. And sometimes you might even need to use multiple tools at once.
I like that. A leadership Swiss Army knife. Okay, so
Okay.
adaptability is key. Got it.
Absolutely.
It's true you can know all the theory in the world, but if it doesn't feel authentic, it's just not going to land.
Right. Like people can see right through that.
Totally. And that's the point productivity by design really emphasizes. This idea of authentic leadership. It's not about trying to fit some mold or copy someone else's style. It's about owning your strengths, knowing what you need to work on, and then leading in a way that just feels true to you.
Yeah. Exactly. Bring your whole self to the table, not just putting on a leadership mask.
100%. So where do you even start with that? Like, how do you figure out what your authentic leadership style even is?
It really starts with some self-reflection. Productivity by design suggests asking yourself some key questions like, what are my natural instincts as a leader?
Okay.
What gets me fired up and energized? What kind of environment do I want to cultivate for my team? And honestly,
Yeah,
just taking the time to really reflect on those questions can be so insightful.
I bet. It's like holding up a mirror to your leadership self.
Exactly. And the thing is, it's not like you do this once and boom, you've got it all figured out.
Right, because you're always growing and changing.
Exactly. So it's an ongoing journey, which is kind of exciting. You can experiment, adjust your approach as you learn, and who knows, maybe you'll even surprise yourself with some hidden talents along the way.
I love that. See, now that's motivating. Instead of feeling pressure to have all the answers, it's like, okay, I can relax, embrace the process, and allow myself to evolve as a leader.
Exactly. It's all about growth.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into leadership styles, is there anything else from productivity by design that really stood out?
I think the biggest takeaway is that leadership is a skill.
Okay.
And like any skill, it takes practice. So don't be afraid to experiment with different styles,
Oh, I like that.
Try things out. See what feels right for you, for your team, for the situation.
Permission to play and explore.
Exactly. Now, cultivating that self-awareness, that's huge. Pay attention to how you naturally lead. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback from your team because that outside perspective can be invaluable.
Oh, for sure. You need that reality check sometimes, right?
Exactly. And the more you understand your strengths, your areas for growth, the better equipped you'll be to make those adjustments, to refine your approach.
It's like having a leadership GPS.
I like that.
Those feedback points are just course corrections helping you stay on track.
Perfectly said. And I think finally, it's so important to remember that leadership at its core, it's not about checking boxes or hitting some arbitrary metric. It's about people.
Yeah, it's about building those relationships, creating a positive, supportive environment.
Exactly. When you can do that, lead with authenticity and heart, you inspire the people around you,
Absolutely. And that's when the real magic happens.
Wow, this has been such a thought-provoking deep dive. Thank you.
Of course.
And to everyone listening, it's been great diving deep with you all. Until next time.